Reaching historic records, this pandemic has taught us the value of work, but how we clock in is changing, and that's the theme of this month's edition of Cincinnati Magazine. Editor-in-Chief John Fox joins us now via Zoom. And John, it's so good to see you, so good to talk to you as usual. You know, for many of us, the pandemic has really redefined the jobs that we do and how we do them, and these changes may be permanent. Your February issue also looks at even why we work, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we thought, obviously, as you just said, so many people's work has been impacted by the pandemic. But, you know, when you've got people being deemed essential workers, then you start to think, well, what if I'm not an essential worker? What does that mean? And what does that mean to me? And what we really found out was that, I mean, it's no surprise, but that everyone's work is essential to them. And that as much as we all like to think that we just work to make a living so we can do other things in our life, you know, our identity really is tied up with our work. It's not something we just do. It is part of who we are. And so we tried to get into that about what work really means to people. And again, in these times when, you know, some people are deemed essential and others aren't, what does that really mean?
Yeah, and you look at this through the eyes of people with really disparate jobs. I found this fascinating. I mean, you went from a plumbing business to someone who restores artwork and just about everything in between. How did you pick these people to profile?
Well, to be honest, we started out thinking that maybe this would just be a random, you know, we would just pick 10 or 12 people randomly. But then we started to look at, let's find some people who have interesting jobs in and of themselves. But at the same time, they would still be representative of what we're doing, or what the theme is. So I don't know. It's a little bit of random. It's a little bit of who has interesting jobs or who is doing something that maybe you didn't think you knew somebody had this job. So the people you mentioned, as well as a woman who's a chaplain at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and the guy who builds tree houses, and a musician. So we just tried to find people that just had different jobs, but, you know, would still represent kind of what we're all going through right now.
Yeah, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, but this whole idea of a job is more than just a conveyance for getting money to pay for the things in our lives, that it actually becomes a part of who we are. Was there any kind of universal message that you found, no matter what the type of job?
Yeah, I think the ultimate message is that people want some sort of meaning in their job. So besides knowing that they can do the tasks that are in front of them, they want to know that their job contributes to some sort of larger good in society. So whether you're literally a chaplain or somebody who helps other people, or you're somebody on television, or you're somebody who edits a magazine, no matter what you do, you want to be able to, I think, feel like what you do has meaning to other people in addition to having meaning to yourself. And that's really what we tried to get at. And the reality is that not all of us do jobs that really, you know, change the world every day, but they do have an impact in some way. And I think if you can focus on that, then I think, you know, that job has a lot of value to you. And that's really all that it matters, is what does it mean to you? Yeah,
it sounds like an absolutely fascinating read. Of course, you can read all about it in the February issue of Cincinnati Magazine. And John, thank you so much for joining us to talk about it.
You're welcome, John. Thanks for having me.